It's only during your main phase, not during the main phase. With Babel, it's a quick effect. Yeah, it being a quick effect doesn't matter. No, he can. No shot he can. It becomes a quick effect. That doesn't matter. The card's activation requirement is during your main phase. It overwrites it? Wait, one moment. No shot! My opponent tends to activate Pot of Greed whilst I have Protector on my field. He saw his top card and he refused to shuffle his deck. He shuffled his deck and then put the card he saw on top of his deck. He has illegal game knowledge and refuses to repair fair game state. Unknown card top of deck. If a card is illegally drawn, the correct procedure is revealing the card to both players and it remains on the top of the deck. I revealed the card and put on top. Okay, well then simple. Will be given a DC minor warning. Simple. Have a nice day. Me when I'm playing stun and my opponent's top deck is a good card. DC minor warning, by the way, is drawing cards minor. There's a specific warning for drawing cards illegally for some reason. I get hit with the distant coder warning. Absolutely cooked. High issue. My opponent says I can't use Kieran and Garunix in one chain. I'm gonna chain Garunix and Kieran. Can't do two specials from hand. Which effect of Kieran is used here? It actually doesn't matter because the Kieran can't summon itself. The trigger effect in the grave. The trigger effect in the grave. I mean, yeah, that's fine. This chain is legal. This chain is completely legal. You're not allowed to use two trigger effects of monsters that can summon, that would summon specifically themselves from the hand. They have to be able to summon themselves specifically. The Kieran summons something else, so this is completely allowed. Oh, good. Have a nice day. This is an interesting ruling. I can explain this actually. So this is one of those Konami said so moments. It's a ruling from this card called Green Baboon. Yeah, it's the baboon ruling. It's the motherfucking, the baboon looking ass. So Green Baboon, Defender of the Forest says, when a face-up beast monster you control is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, while this card is in your hand or graveyard, except during the damage step, you can pay 1,000 life points, special summon this card. And specifically what they didn't want you to be able to do is to be able to trigger two Green Baboons in the same chain. So because they didn't want you to be able to trigger two Green Baboons in the same chain, they made this rule that two trigger effects that can summon themselves from the hand cannot activate in the same chain. The thing that's really interesting about this is Green Baboon can trigger from hand or grave. If you have a Green Baboon in your hand and a Green Baboon in your grave, you still can't use both because Green Baboon's effect can summon itself from the hand or the grave. Whereas if Green Baboon only said from grave and you have two Green Baboons in grave, you'd be able to summon them both. It's why if you link off a Salamangreat monster for Balinks, you can't go Parallel Exceed and Salamangreat Gazelle in the same chain. That's why you're not allowed to do that. It's specifically because of the Green Baboon ruling, which is, it's an interesting one, but it's just silly because it's a Konami said so moment. It really just was Konami didn't want you to activate them two in the same chain for some fucking reason. All right, we got modern calls. Let's go. I'm down for some modern calls. What's the issue here? Oh my God, Malice. Ugh. Malice with the Izuna. Interesting. Just a quick check. Quick check with the quickness. Make it fast. Is it legal to activate the effect of summon back from grave of Cookie Yummy Way and on resolution not summon any monster? No. If you activate Yummy Synchro to summon back, can you choose to summon back 0? No, it says up to, right? They all say up to. Special summon up to 2 Yummy monsters from your graveyard. When a card says to summon up to 2, your options are 1 or 2. 0 is not an option. Which is funny because this is a big difference between Yu-Gi-Oh! And other card games. Other card games tend to allow up to include 0. Like Alestrals does this. I believe Magic the Gathering does it. A lot of other games, when a card says to do something to up to X amount of cards, up to includes 0. But it's not an option in modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Hi, Jude. My opponent used Forbidden Chalice on Stardust to attack my 0. After I use 0 effect, and my opponent used Stardust effect, he can use in the damage step, right? Negate the activation. Yeah, that's fine. In my opinion, he can't use because Chalice negates. You can activate a negated monsters. There is a difference between negating the effect of a monster and preventing a monster from activating its effects. Yeah, that's very different things. Two very different things. It resolves negated. Yeah, but that doesn't matter because all you want to do is get the Stardust off the field to dodge the Ab-Zero. He didn't have any other monsters on board, and then it just comes back in the end phase. Oh, during the end phase, the effect was activated this turn and was not negated. Interesting. Stardust doesn't come back though, because its effect was negated. Interesting. That's so funny. It doesn't come back because it has a reminder text that says end was not negated. That is so funny. Why does it say that? It doesn't need to say that. Hilarious. I love when cards have like random text they don't need to have that just actually impacts stuff. All right, ruling in modern. Got Cartesia. I assume this is oh, it's just branded actually. Every time I see Cartesia, I just assume that it's Draco Tail. Super heavy samurai with the Orcus stuff. Cool. Cool. Can use Enlil Girsu's second effect to send one card to grave during my main phase. During your main phase, if this card is in the grave because it was sent there from the extra monster on this turn, you can banish this card, send one card in the field to the graveyard. It's only during your main phase, not during the main phase. With Babel, it's a quick effect. Yeah, it being a quick effect doesn't matter. No, he can. No shot he can. It becomes a quick effect. That doesn't matter. The card's activation requirement is during your main phase. It overwrites it? Wait, one moment. No shot! No shot! What are we talking about? It was ruled like that in the OCG and in the WCQ I attended. Read Babel. I know what Babel does. I know that it makes it a quick effect, but that doesn't change the activation requirement of the card. What? That's psychotic. That is psychotic, bro. That is psychotic. That is psychotic, man. What's the wording of the card in the OCG? Surely the OCG text is different. 100% this card's OCG text is just different. It has to be. It has to be. It has to be. It has to be. It also works in Master. Yeah, but Master uses OCG text. This is a little bit crazy. I'm not gonna lie. No, it's not. It has to be. There's no way it's not. There's no way that it's not. Hold up. Hold up. Hold up. Hold up. Hold up. That's a shit ruling. Thanks though. Not your fault. Have a nice day. Seems obvious to me. What do you mean seems obvious to you? What part of during your main phase seems obvious to you? What the fuck are we talking about? Okay, let me grab the Japanese card text, and I'm just gonna go to a translator real quick. The Japanese card text says, it also says during your main phase of the turn this card was sent from the extra monster in the grave. That is insane. Babel's saying it makes them quick effects. Yes, but them becoming a quick effect. Okay, I'll clarify this. I'll make this real simple. If you look at something like Harp Horror doesn't say during your main phase. It just says you can banish this card from your grave. So the idea, right, or the OCG Babel is what's causing the mess. Does OCG's Babel have different text? Yu-Gi-Oh! Babel. Hold up. Is the OCG text on Babel different? Let me read let me get the Japanese card text of Babel. Japanese card text of Babel says, as long as the card exists in the field zone, the effects of your link monsters on your field and monsters in your grave whose original card name contains Orcust can be activated during your opponent's turn. Interesting. That's like a really weird way to word that. Because this says you can activate the effects of your Orcust monsters in your grave or of link monsters you control with Orcust in the original name as quick effects. But the thing is, right, the logic here, if you look at the text on Harp Horror says you can banish this card from your grave, semicolon. So all that it would say is you can banish this card from your graveyard, quick effect. That's what Babel is doing. Babel is adding the words quick effect to the text of the card, right? But if you look at a card like Enlil Girsu, where this card's text says, during your main phase, if this card is in the grave because it was sent there from the extra monster zone this turn, you can banish this card, quick effect. So basically what this would mean is that Enlil Girsu under Babel should, per what's written here, it would become a quick effect, meaning that you could just chain it in your main phase because you're still at the like proper activation timing, which is during your main phase, but becomes a quick effect. You would be able to chain it to something during your main phase. It makes absolutely no sense that this card would be allowed to be activated during your opponent's turn. That makes no sense whatsoever. That's actually like psychotic. That's actually crazy. Is there a monster quick effect that you can only activate in your main phase? Maybe Konami tries to avoid that. Yeah, plenty. The Gem Knight monster, right? The Gem Knight monster, this card, this specifically says when your opponent activates a monster effect, during your turn, when your opponent activates a monster effect, quick effect. So boom, you have an example of something for your own turn. I don't know if there's one specifically in the main phase or whatever, but it's really strange. I think it's how they write these ignition effects as standard, not meant to be an activation condition. Check Raiden, for example. Raiden. During your main phase, you can send the top two cards of your deck to the grave. Yeah. But if this card said during your main phase quick effect, it would be chainable. You know what I mean? It would just be chainable during your main phase. Quick effect is not a term used in the OCG, so that's probably why Babel is worded so weirdly. But I mean, per the text here, there's no universe the Enlil Gears who should be allowed to activate on the opponent's turn with Babel like this, because it says during your main phase. That's very strange. That's super strange. I mean, hey, I'll know for next time, but I think that the text is extremely unintuitive to let you know that that is how this card works. That is extremely odd. It definitely should not work that way. It definitely should not.